I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 100 of the Parenting Autism podcast. Today, we don't normally have guests on our show, but we have a very extra special guest today, and that is Mamaw.
Yes, we do. Say hi, Mamaw.
Hi, everybody.
So, why do we have Mamaw today?
Why do we have Mamaw? Well, one reason is because we love her, but also because I thought it would be great to have a grandparent's perspective. Because as I was telling you, Mom, that we have listeners that write into us that are grandparents, and they're very much involved in helping their grandchildren. And so I think just it's another perspective. And also, it's our 100th episode, and we wanted to do something extra special.
That is special.
So we did ask her, and I was surprised. She's like, okay, sure. So I'm like, oh, okay, she will. This will be good. So here on the podcast, if you're a new listener, as Chris said, we don't normally have guests, but we kind of sit here and recap what's happening in our lives and parenting Bryce, who is now 9.5. I know, right? So
how old was he when we started this podcast?
He was 5. He had just turned 5.
Wow.
So 4.5 years we've been kind of recapping his journey on here. And so we had a couple of headlines this week. We can talk about that. And then I just kind of wanted to talk to Mom, just some stories that she can share about Bryce. And then she also has another grandson who is on the autism spectrum. And we've mentioned him before in past podcasts, but that's Storm. And Storm is now 24. So you got 24 years old and 9 years old. And they're similar in a lot of ways, but they're different in a lot of ways. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll just kind of talk about those kind of things. And then anything else you want to talk about? Maybe your cats. No, that's another episode. But so headlines this week. We will start, we actually recorded last Sunday and we caught up for the entire month of March. So we didn't have too much that happened this week except Monday out the gate. I kind of had what I felt was like a parent fail in my mind in some ways. So I thought, I got my mom here and, I felt like I had a mommy fail. So Bryce, when I picked him up from therapy on Monday, usually I can tell his mood when he comes out the door, and he came over to my window at the car, and he's like, I'm like, uh-oh, what's wrong, buddy? And he's like, my tummy doesn't feel good. I'm like, okay. And then his therapist, she said, he said his tummy kind of hurt in the beginning, but then we did some breathing exercises, and we did some other things, and she said the last 10 minutes he didn't feel good, and he laid down on the table, which is what he'll normally do if he needs to take a break. I said, was he fine before that? Because he has speech before OT. And she said, yeah, he seemed fine with that. So that's all I knew. I'm like, okay. And she said, we really didn't do exercises because he's had tummy pains before after OT, but it's because they've done exercises. So maybe his core is a little sore, but that's just what he said. So we started to leave, and I said, so you doing okay? And he's like, yeah, my tummy hurts. And I said, yeah. I said, do you need to poop? Because, sometimes that can make you have your tummy hurt. And he goes, yeah, I do. And Bryce actually won't. He has a hard time having a bowel movement unless it's at our house or your house, Mom. It's like the two safe spaces for him. So, and maybe a hotel. But anyway, so I said, okay, well, we'll get you home. And our house is maybe 10 minutes if you hit both lights and 5 minutes if you're lucky and you don't hit either light. It's not very far from our house to there. I turn the corner and we're at the first light, which we didn't catch. And so we're sitting at the red light. And then all of a sudden he's like, Mommy, I need to go now. Take me in that building. And I'm like, okay, buddy, you got to wait. And he was talking about a bank that was there. And again, that's very unusual for him. But I was like, no, you got to hold it a little bit longer. We're going to get through this light. And then we got one more light. And then we'll get there. And again, I think he's just got, to have a movement. So I'm like, I started to ask him something else. He goes, I can't talk, Mommy. I'm like, okay, well, I have the experience of having IBS, so I get it, And I thought, well, I understand the urgency. I said, just take your deep breaths back there. We're going to make it. The light turned. We get down. Thankfully, we did not catch the next light. We were able to go right through it. So I'm like coaching him through. Okay, we're going through the light. Now we're turning on our street. Okay, we're on our street now. Hurry, Mommy. Okay, I am. I said, here's the plan. I'm going to take out my keys. I'm not going to even turn the car off. I'm going to go right to the door. You unbuckle. I'll get the door open and you go right to the bathroom. Okay? Okay. So get home. We follow that plan. He gets in. He runs to the bathroom. And I go back to the car to turn it off and to grab my purse and stuff. 3 minutes tops. I come back in and whoo, did I smell an aroma in the house that was not pleasant. And I thought, wow, he rarely gets sick. I can't remember him being sick like that. Then I thought, well, I'll have to talk to Chris and find out what supplements he gave him because you're always trying to get him to go more. And I was going to be like, okay, maybe scale back on whatever you gave him today because it really moved him in a bad way. So he's in there, and then he did ask me for his iPad at a certain point, which he normally has in there. So I took that, and then a few minutes later, he asked me for water. So I went and I gave him some water, and I think we probably got home like at 5:05. And so it's like 5:15, and Miss Page comes, who is his ABA tech. And so I go and I let her in, and I said, he's going to be a few minutes. He had to have bowel movement. When I picked him up, he said his belly wasn't feeling well. So he's in the bathroom and you can hear him playing his game and stuff. And then I hear, she goes, it's probably after a few more minutes, she says, is he okay? And I hear him making this horrible sound. It goes like this. Well, that's a new sound that he makes when he's imitating this coin sound on his iPad. So she goes, is he okay in there? And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is just this new horrible sound that he makes. Oh, he likes to imitate sounds now. So, yes, that's a new behavior we're dealing with. And I could hear him in there doing it. And I listened. I listened, and it did sound like the coin sound. And the game was still going. So I said, yeah, he's doing that. And now he's imitating my cough. If I'm coughing, he'll make that sound. I said, this is all just kind of new. We're working on it, but yeah, that's what we're doing. So it's probably a few more minutes. And then right then I get this text from work that I had this emergency going on.
Oh, no.
And so I said, okay, let me go send that. So she's out in the kitchen area waiting for Bryce to finish in the bathroom. I come in the office, which is right next door to it. I really don't think I was in here for more than 3 or 4 minutes. And I go back out and I hear her say, Bryce, are you okay? And I said, let me check on him. And it was quiet. So now I'm not hearing the iPad, which is all registers now, right? So I opened the door and it was like a horror scene that I saw. And so I saw him completely bent over, lifeless. I think I was telling you this, Mom. I'm like, I didn't know what happened. I thought he passed out. So I'm like, Bryce. And then he's like, Mommy. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So now I'm looking at it and his iPad's on the floor. It's covered in signs of sickness, we'll say. It's all over the rug. It's all over him. It's all over everywhere. And he wasn't saying a peep. I mean, I think he was like traumatized.
Exhausted, probably.
And exhausted, right? I mean, it hurts when you have that. And it looked violent. So it must have been. And I really don't think... I still want to say that he was making the coin sound earlier. But I don't know that for sure. And I feel bad now because he might have just been in there,
throwing up,
being sick.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a lot. And so I'm still in my dress from work. So I looked at Paige. I mean, Bryce was clearly done being sick at this point. So I showed him the trash can and I said, if you feel anything else coming, because he has vomited before, but nothing like this. Usually like it's more water. So I said, if you feel it again, try to do it in here if you can. I'm going to go get my other clothes on so I can clean this up. And so Paige stayed with him while I went to go do that. And so I got dressed. My mind is still like spinning. I come back. And at this point, I was just starting to clean it up when you came home. So you walk in the door, and what was your take on it?
Well, I think I just got off work, and I came home. I opened the door, and there's Bryce. I think he was standing up. I don't know if he was naked or not, but
had I got him undressed at that point?
I don't know. You were there, and Paige was standing there. The bathroom door was open.
Actually, you're right. I think I was getting him undressed at that point because we had him take his shirt off and then take the rest off.
Why is everybody in the bathroom with my naked son?
See, I didn't know where you came in. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I did get him undressed.
The vomit on the floor, and he said his iPad had vomit on it. I cleaned it off the best I could. I'm like, okay. And I said, let me walk. I think I need to walk back out the door and walk in. I think this is a bad dream. Bryce said, no, Daddy. This is real life. It's not a dream. He couldn't help but laugh with the poor kid. I'm like, okay, all right, we need to get him into the bathtub, but first you need to wipe his butt. And then it was
we hadn't even gone there yet because I'm looking at his iPad thinking, okay, he's not vomiting anymore. I don't want his iPad to be destroyed over this. The things that go through your mind.
Put things in order.
You make sure he's okay, and he is okay at this point, but so I know Paige got his shirt off, and then, I think he was done on the toilet. So, okay, let's get you up and get you cleaned up and get your clothes off of you, and put a towel around you. I think it was. I got the towel, and I started to clean up what I could around him, and then, so his iPad has the case on it. So I'm like trying to get the case off and trying to make sure liquid's not getting in there.
You did a good job. It was dry.
We did salvage it. Yeah. It's working, so that's good.
So,
poor Paige. She didn't know what to do. She was trying to be so helpful, and normally she wouldn't see our child naked, but what are you going to do in a case like this,
What are you going to do? She wrapped up and said, okay.
Yeah, we said, and we don't want you to get sick. We don't know what's going on. Did he have the flu? Did he... he's never had it coming out of both ends like that before.
It was just something he ate.
So we figured out it was food poisoning of some sort. We're thinking it might have been some questionable hot dogs. So he has eaten hot dogs again since then, which is good. But I do know it was hot dogs and yogurt. I can vouch for that. And that was the other thing. Like, I didn't have answers to my questions like, well, what did he eat? And when did he eat it? And how could this happen? And I had to kind of wait for you to come home. We got all those answers. But thankfully, that was it. He did not have a flu bug. His temperature was like low 99, but he didn't really have fever or anything. It was just something that he ate. And by that evening, he was better. And he didn't have therapy the next day for any of it. So he was kind of happy about that because the 24-hour rule. But no, he was good, and we got back on. But I did feel like a little bit of mommy fail on the, I didn't hear him being so sick in there. But then again, I have to say his iPad's so loud that there's all kind of sounds going on, and you're waiting for that. And I don't know. I just felt kind of bad about that. Mom, have you ever felt mommy fails?
Oh, sure.
Yeah? Give us one mommy fail that might come to your mind when we were little. Any of us.
Oh, wow. That would be a little bit...
having you go back.
Yeah, I have to go back a little ways.
Did any of them come? Nothing? See, I don't know. Maybe I'll forget this then in 20, 30 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Chalk it up for experience.
Just chalk it up as one of your experiences with your child.
Okay. Well, let me tell you one more mommy fail while we're talking about it.
While we're confessing everything.
While we're confessing, because I don't say them too often. But it just happened, too, at the air show. So this is going along the lines of Bryce and his nakedness. we were leaving the air show on Sunday, and they only have porta potties there. So it was really hot. We were tired, and I thought you were taking him to the porta potty, and I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and go to the truck. And we don't normally separate, but they knew where the truck was, and I was near the entrance, and I really wanted to just get in the truck. It had been 2 long days of air show. So I knew that the day before, when we took him to the porta potty on the way out, he came out, and his shorts were not up all the way, but his shirt was pulled down covering it. And I was just like, oh, let's get those shorts all the way up. Nobody needs to see your butt, right? But I didn't think anything of it. But Chris, I guess this time you went in one porta potty and he went in the other. Mm-hmm. And when he came out, Chris wasn't out yet. And he came out with his shorts down for the whole world to see,
his
apparently.
Underwear too, yeah.
And his underwear too. Needing assistance, I guess?
I heard him through the thing. He says, Daddy, I'm having trouble getting my shorts up. I said, okay. I said, I'll be right there.
Okay.
And but I don't know if he was already outside or if he was in the other
where
one
the sound was coming from
or whatever. And I walk out, I'm like, oh, yay.
So here's where my mommy feel part comes in. Not that I wasn't there to help him. I just feel like he's 9.5, and maybe we haven't taught him enough that nobody's supposed to see anything underneath
here's
there.
The deal. He's not a typical.
Because he's so innocent.
He's not a typical
I know.
9-year-old. So
I know.
I mean, I felt like, and I didn't want to say this to you as you're wanting to go to the truck because it seemed urgent, but I felt like somebody always needs to be there. Like, even if he came out and his shorts were up, you know, who's going to be out there?
Well, I thought you were going in with him.
Well,
I didn't realize
two people cannot fit in one of those things. I mean, how am I going to go in with him?
What I wanted.
Yeah, are you making the picture now of him and me trying to fit into one of those things?
I can, but I guess what I would think was, well, I guess I didn't think you'd be leaving him, but yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently I didn't think that all the way through
I guess
either.
I could have waited for him, but there was 2 open ones, so and I thought, hey, I'll be right out. I just wasn't as quick as he was because he went in first.
Yeah,
and,
I gotcha.
You know, that's history now.
It is, but then I'm like, I told you afterwards, I did feel a little sad after that because I'm like, wow, the things you don't think of, right?
Well, what if he would have wandered off? What if somebody came and got him that wasn't me?
I didn't
think about those things.
Yeah, so like even now yeah.
So for future reference, the 3 of us should always be there.
Well, that's a given. But like, do we now? Here's a conversation I don't know how much I want to have with Bryce at this point, but I guess you do have to have these conversations of private areas, what shouldn't be seen, because he's fairly innocent on all of that because he lives in a small bubble, and at what point do you have that conversation? Now we say he's 9.5. Are we going to say this when he's 19.5? I mean, at what point do you have this conversation with him?
I think he understands.
And I think like the last time we tried to talk even about stranger danger, then he was afraid of everybody. But then he'll just say, oh, can you be my friend so you're not my stranger? I mean, like, he's still like so innocent on all of that. Mommy, I talked to them so they're not a stranger. Is that my friend now? Well, not quite. But, like he just really has such innocence. And so apparently leaving him alone to come out of a porta potty, which again is a very rare exception, is something that wouldn't happen very often at all. We have to think about these things, and that he would have more awareness, I guess is what it is, that we call it the winky. Nobody can see your winky, you got to have that conversation, but then that's going to lead to the, well, why and the what and the why. How much information do you give?
I wish there was almost like a school class, for kids with autism for life skills. Like, this is what you learn first. This is what you learn second. you know, and kind of like a roadmap, because typical kids, they learn these things automatically just from experience and watching other people. You know, there's a lot of things that kids with autism don't pick up that typical kids do.
So you raised 3 boys.
Right.
Did you ever have to have a conversation with any of them about that?
Well, only won't say which one.
Okay. Protect the innocent.
Protect the innocent. But we were at a company picnic, and he says, "Mommy, I gotta use the bathroom." And I said, "Okay, just hold on." So I'm reaching to get the other child. And I turned back around, and he had started to use the bathroom, and it went up and over and landed on the table. And there was this big pot of ham, plate of ham, and people were going, "Oh my goodness!" I almost didn't want to claim him.
I had not heard that one before.
Oh gosh! But it was afterwards. It was funny. At the time, it was wild.
Oh no!
And about how old was he then?
Probably about 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you gotta go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, you know, another thing we had with Bryce was bladder control. Like, we would be on a road trip, and he didn't know how to hold it. It would be like, I have to go right now, and wherever we were, we had to pull over.
Yeah, there was like zero.
There was zero, you know.
You know, and so there's plenty of grass that we've watered, thanks to Bryce, on our travels.
But now,
because we just have to do that.
He's gotten better now, though.
It's definitely better with that, and he's learning that. I think it's just more the talk of, did you ever have to have the talk with them about not exposing themselves to anybody?
Oh, yeah, when they got a little older, yeah.
Okay, and so then what kind of conversations did you have with them? Or did you just explain that?
Yeah, you just, you go, "Oh, no, you don't want to let nobody see you. Don't let anybody see you when you don't have your clothes." And they would soon say, "Oh, don't come in here." They'd shut the door on you.
On you? Yeah.
They'd shut the door on me. I'm not ready yet. I'm not dressed yet. But they just caught on, that.
And you didn't have to give a lot of explanation why?
Oh, you would just tell them that's,
Just that one time?
Yeah, and you just tell them, well, it's probably more than once that you told them. But the clarity was, you don't want to let anybody see you because that's not good. You want to keep yourself covered. And it didn't take them long to catch that. Any of you.
Yeah, so maybe, That's the thing with Bryce is it always leads like to the more and the whys, and then he gets worried and anxious, and and then it's like, well, who can see him? And I think my conversation will be me and Daddy and Mamaw. I think I'm just going to give him 3 because obviously if he's at your house, and he needs assistance.
I remember whenever our daughter-in-law Leslie talked about their son Jack, and up until he was like probably 3. He got to she'd let him get in the bathtub, 2.5, 3. She'd let him get in the bathtub and bath with her. And then one night she says, "Jack, you can't do this anymore." And he went, "Why? Why, Mom?" She says, "You're getting too big, so you can't be in the bathroom with Mommy anymore." And he went, "I thought we were all family." That was so cute.
That is cute.
That is funny.
It's like helping them understand, why is it changing?
Why is it changing? I thought we were all family.
Yeah.
Why are we changing the rules?
That's cute.
Kids are awesome.
I know. Well, you know what I'm thinking here? Like having this conversation. So Bryce is very interested and fascinated with the whole Adam and Eve story, right?
We can tell them how they
they cover themselves with the leaves,
How
right?
the Lord wanted them to cover themselves.
Yeah, so I think maybe that would be a good...
And he likes Bible class, so...
He is loving Bible class.
It's great.
Yeah, this week
It's
he
the
was
best
like...
class.
That's what he says.
It's
Because
the
we told him that.
best
He goes,
class.
"We have to do Bible, Daddy, because it is most important."
It is, and that's what we
Yes,
told him. Yeah.
because then he finished... Was it this week he finished language arts?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was very excited about that.
Yeah.
And But so now we're doing some other classes, but he's finished math and language arts. But yeah, he's like, I want to learn more about God. And then we're like trying to explain. I think I asked him last Sunday, so Bryce, do you know what Easter's about? He goes, the eggs. I'm like, okay, we got to work on this. This is the week of Easter.
Yeah.
We better explain there's a little more than eggs to this, even though we have in the past. But no, we've been talking about it with him this week, and he's understanding that. And it was cute because we were saying that he was wanting to make sure that he had Jesus in his heart. And he actually got teary-eyed. And then he's like, well, how will I know? How will I feel it? Well, it's really hard to explain all of that to an adult, much less to a child that's literal. And so we're going through it, and then he's like, well, will I go to heaven? I said, you will go to heaven now. All right, now? And then he tears up because I said, you will go to heaven now. Okay, I just meant now you have security that you'll go to heaven. No, I said, you will go to heaven now. And then I saw him tearing up, and you're like, why are you crying? He goes, well, I'm not ready to go to heaven now. I want to stay here longer. And I'm like, well, you are going to stay here longer. You're on earth, and God wants you to be on earth for a long time. Well, I like Earth. It is a nice place. I have my globe in my room and everything.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Earth globe.
Yes. Globe. I said, yes, God wants you to enjoy Earth for a long time. That's why we have to play outside. And he looked at, he goes, yes, God made the grass out there. I said, yes. So that's why you can't always be on your games, and we have to play outside and enjoy the earth that God wants you to enjoy. I figured, let me just use this angle to get him off the games more. But he's so literal. Like, I didn't realize when I said that, he thought everything was ending and going. So I had
that's like when he didn't want to put on his suit, his astronaut suit. He thought he was going to go to the moon. That's right.
He was like, it's so sad. Like, I don't want to leave.
Poor kid.
Oh my goodness.
The stuff we put him through.
Oh, well, we don't know. I mean, really, we don't know. You're just like having regular conversations, and then what's regular to us, and then you see him get upset. I'm like, well, why are you upset? But I have to tell you this because we're talking about heaven, and I wrote this down because it was really sweet. So I think it's a couple weeks ago we were at Taco Tuesday, and you couldn't join us that day, so it was just me and Bryce. And so he just says to me out of the blue, he says, here, can people in heaven send messages to your phone? And I said, well, I don't think so. And he goes, oh. And I said, well, you wonder if they have Wi-Fi in heaven? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, who did you want to get a message from? He goes, oh, Grandma Roro.
Aww.
And I said, oh, well, I don't think she can send a message
You
through
didn't tell me that.
I know, I was saving it for this so I could get your legit reaction. I had put it in my notes because I didn't want to forget this because it was really sweet. And he says, oh, and I said, yeah, well, you know, I think, I don't know what I said there. And then he goes, well, what's the first music that you heard in heaven? And I said, you want to know what the first song she heard in heaven? And he's like, yeah. And I said, I don't know. And he goes, I think it'll be King of Kings. And that's his favorite song by Hillsong. And I'm like, well, is that the first song you want to hear when you go to heaven? Yes, it's a beautiful song. I said, well, then why don't you tell God that's the first song you want to hear when you go to heaven? Because if you tell him that, then that's just putting in your request. He's like, okay. So I love like those really sweet,
he's really tuned in,
innocent, you know, conversations that we get to have with him. Like, yeah, he's a good one to have those conversations with. So those were the notes of the week that I had. But actually it was a good week for him. Not as many worries, which is good. We're working on that. I actually gave him a Bible verse because I thought that would help him. Let me grab it.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to know what heaven looked like, too. So
oh, yeah, that was another big conversation this week.
We went to the Bible, and we found verses that described heaven.
And you know Bryce loves the color gold, so he's really honed in on the gold streets. Yeah, for sure. What did he ask Dad last night if there would be in heaven? Oh, he wanted to know if there would be flying cars. And then something, but you know, he was asking Papa, well, what will be in heaven? Well, there could be. I mean, really, the Bible doesn't tell us a lot. So as Papa said, well, we're going to be there for a really long time. There could be all kinds of things. We'll be there forever. But yeah, so with Bryce, he does have a lot of the anxiety and the worries, and we're trying to help him, taking the deep breaths is good, but I think your mindset, even as adults, is so important. What we think on controls how we feel. And so if I can change the way that he thinks about things, then maybe that would reduce his worry. So I found the verse 1 Peter 5:7, and I wrote it out on an index card so he could read it. And I put, Bryce, leave all your worries with God because he cares for you. And then I'm just having him read that so that if he can remember. So where do you put your worries? To God. Why? Because he loves you. Right. Okay. So if he seems worried, I can just bring that back. And he's very visual. So I figure if he's reading it, that will help him remember it more. Because I know, like, for me, when I see things, I have like a photographic memory, so I can remember things much better than if it's just through audio hearing, So we can tell him all day long, but if he sees it, if he hears it, and I think I'll probably start doing more things like that for him as he gets older, like putting cards around the house, like positive affirmations and scriptures and things like, give your worries to God, or making it so simple, like that he can read that and be reminded of changing his thinking. And Bryce does have a lot of negative things, like where he wants to hurt himself, or punish himself, or make himself more sad, whatever it is. But the things that I'm reading is the more we can give him positive feedback and have him say positive things about himself, that will kind of make that go away. So I probably need to have him just like repeat some, like we always tell him, you're so smart, you're so handsome, you're so nice, you're so kind. But we need him to say it. Remember when I was telling him, Mom, that you're so handsome? And then I had that video and he was doing his hair and he goes, I'm so handsome. But I want him to have that kind of confidence, and do those kind of things. So anyway, that's kind of like what was coming up. But Mom, you haven't talked very much. I got to bring you back into this.
Well, you haven't asked her anything.
I haven't. Just a couple of stories. So that's the recap of the week. So now let's talk to Mamaw a little bit. So last night, did you have any conversations with him last night that were good? Well, we went out on our little date. I know you cut his hair last night.
Yeah. He talked to me when I was cutting hair. I said, Bryce, you're being awfully good tonight. You're still, well, I'm getting older, he says. I'm getting older. You've cut my hair a long time, Mamaw. I said, yeah, I have. And he says, I'll sit very still. Just don't cut my ears. I don't cut your ears.
So worries about that.
I know. It's so
and you've
cute.
never cut his ear.
No. I cut Randy's ear one time, but I have never cut Bryce's.
Well, don't tell Bryce that you cut Uncle Randy's ear. It'll all be over.
Right.
Maybe that's why he married a beautician.
Yeah, there you go.
To get away from his
funny.
barber.
Oh my goodness.
Funny.
That's cute.
But I think I'm the only one that's cut Bryce's hair yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that's cut Storm's. Well, no. I think they took him a couple times when he was in Michigan, but I've mostly cut Storm's hair.
Yeah. That's true. Well, it's a big deal in the autism community.
I see questions all
for
the time.
boys to feel safe about getting their hair cut.
Where can I take my child?
The
to get their hair
razors,
cut?
the sound of the razors, and then I guess the fear of really that they're going to get cut because they can't control that.
Or the sound of the scissors. Who
Maybe it
knows
is
what
even
it
the
is.
sound. Yeah.
I remember shaving his neck. When I get done, I shave their neck. And I said to Storm, when I was cutting his, I said, I haven't used the razor on Bryce's neck yet. And he went, it's still a little bit early, he said. so he said, still a little bit early. But then he saw me cutting Papaw's hair.
Bryce did?
Bryce saw me cutting Papaw's hair, and when I shaved it, he said, you can do mine.
Oh, wow.
And then from that time on, he never flinched. He lets me...
Because he saw it was safe for
He
Papaw.
saw it was safe for Papaw, so he says, you can do mine.
It probably helped that he could see what
it
you were
first.
doing.
Yeah, it was a
than
scene.
actually like experiencing it.
Yeah.
So.
And when Papaw didn't move or holler or anything,
Yeah.
then he says, then you can cut mine. So from that on, I did it the first time, and then I do it every time now. So
Yeah, that's great.
He never thinks.
Yep.
He never like.
We're
he's
very
not
grateful
scared.
that you guys have that relationship. I know sometimes we have to bribe him with some cookies or something, but for the most part, he does really good.
This time, I just had to give him 5 more minutes on the on his pad.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
I said, "Are we ready? 5 more minutes." Okay, 5 minutes. And then when it was up, so then he was ready.
That's great.
Good. That's good.
That's really good. So when Storm was diagnosed with autism, which was like 21 years ago now, seems crazy. Had you ever heard of autism before?
No. I didn't know what that was. But once I looked back, I had known a couple children, or 3, that had that, but I would have not known that. I had never heard it called that name.
That's what I think too. Like, unless it was extremely severe, it really didn't get that autism diagnosis.
No, I never
when
heard
we
the
were
word.
growing up and stuff, right?
Yeah, I never heard the word. Now, my best friend out of high school, when she had her first little girl, there was something wrong with her. Now that you look after all the years of autism and seen it, I would say that's what she had.
Yeah.
But they didn't call it that.
Right.
She just knew there was something wrong with her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just a little older than Randy, our first one. But today, she's in a home. She's like in her 50s.
Wow.
But she's been there for quite some time, for the last several years, because she got very violent. She got very violent, and not only to hurt herself, but to hurt them.
Yeah.
And but then she had a sister and a brother that nothing was wrong with.
Yeah, you just don't know.
And then there was a little boy on our Sunday school bus route. And I would definitely say, with all the actions and everything, but it still, at that time, wasn't called that.
Yeah.
She just thought that they had given him the wrong medicine. I remember the mom saying she thought they had given him wrong medicine, was the reason why he was like that. But she didn't have a name for it. But then with Storm and Bryce were totally different. I mean, Storm didn't speak until he was almost 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think back then when did you first notice that, hey, something's going on with Storm, that, it's not typical?
Not like the other kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly was probably because he had no verbal at all. And usually at the time they're 18 months old, they're talking. But he wasn't, he wasn't talking. Yeah. And that would have been probably the first signs that something was wrong.
I remember Brandy thought he might be deaf.
Yeah.
So they did like the pot around him,
but he could.
Yeah, but he wasn't deaf.
No. I think the most exciting that we saw him relate, I mean, he could go in such deep sleeps that she could lay him on the bed and the kids get up on the bed and jump up and down on it and everything, and it didn't bother him. He was in like a deep, deep sleep.
What we learned with Storm was his was a lot of diet related. And what did they say? Like his body was turning, the yeast was like almost like morphine they compared it to. Like it was drugging him. Yeah. And so that's why he would be, I remember Christmas Eve, he just laid on the floor and was like oblivious to all the noise around with everybody.
He could go in such a deep, deep sleep that it was like scary. Yeah. That he could sleep so deep.
And so then what did they do? They like detoxed him, didn't they? Like, remember when all that yeast came out? Yeah. And they did a lot of different things, and then they changed his diet. Yeah. Clearly. And and then it was like magical. Like all of a sudden, he could say his alphabet.
I remember picking him up, and he was in the back seat of the car, strapped in, and he was like, he didn't talk. And all at once he says, "What's going on around here?" I got wrecked. Who's in this car?
It was amazing, right? Because it was all in there.
All at once. And then he just started talking.
Wow. Yeah.
And then he was like, they put him in, she put him in a little daycare thing for just a little while. But then he went into kindergarten as one of the 3. Him and 2 other little boys went in as 3 children that needed help.
Because he was in like at the school, like the ESC they call it, like the special education there, and then they streamlined him into kindergarten.
And then they streamlined him into kindergarten, but he was still one of 3 that needed help. But Storm arrived he graduated, or he left that school in the 5th grade.
Yep.
And 8 out of 9 grading periods, he was at the top of the class.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he really...
I remember he didn't really have to do a lot of homework because
No.
he had such a good memory.
And on the way
Yeah.
home, he'd say, Mamaw, is it okay if I sang my homework? Go right ahead.
He wanted to sing it.
And he would just sing his answers. He was like doing his homework. He just sang the answers out.
That's
Maybe
cute.
that's how he remembered.
Yeah, but he has a great memory.
He
And
does.
in arithmetic, he's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have tutor Bryce when we need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
So
very
tell the listeners about the day that you went to school with him for Grandparents' Day.
good. Oh, that was so cute. Yeah, the school had where the grandparents could come and eat lunch with them. So I went over to eat lunch with him, and when he saw me coming, he got all excited and ran up to me, and then he wanted to introduce me to the teachers. And then he says to the teacher's name, "Hi, Miss So-So, this is my Mamaw, and she is funny." So then he takes me a little bit further up, and he says, "Hi, Mrs. So-and-so, this is my grandma, and she is very funny." I am not sure why he thought I was funny. But we had lunch together, and he was very talkative that day.
I thought that was
That's
super
special.
cute.
Yeah. Sometimes he talks a lot now, and other times he's very quiet, gives you one answer. Sometimes he'll talk my leg off.
I know. It just
It
depends.
just depends
Yeah.
where he's at in what he wants to talk about, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. So you just kind of learn to
Yeah.
respect that.
Yeah.
And
But he's come a long way.
oh my.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's come a long, long way, and to be able to drive and work and
Yeah.
knows his, he knows.
He knows how to do everything.
Yeah, yeah. He just needs guidance on certain things.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
that's what I would say.
A little
Just
nudge.
If you asked him or tell him a little nudge, Storm, you need to do this.
tell him some like when you ask him to do something, or you tell him to do something, and then he'll be like, "Well, I have to do it now because I can't tell you no, right?"
Right. Yeah. Like I didn't know I was going to have to help you mow the yard. I said, "Well, you didn't have to." "Oh, yeah, I did. Because you asked me to."
Good answer.
That is it.
I said, "Well, I help you mow yours sometimes, so I guess that's just a roundabout play."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're really great with helping him because he doesn't have a mom in his home full time to help him. He lives with his dad. So, and, I just think that it's great that you will go over there and help him get motivated. It's just all he needs. He'll do it. He
He'll
just
do
needs
it,
that.
yeah. I've been there when he'll just work right beside of me doing, cleaning his room or whatever we need to do.
He's very
Do the
compliant,
dishes.
like Bryce is.
Yeah.
He wants to follow rules. He
Yeah.
wants to be a pleaser.
Yeah.
And
he
might groan a little bit. Doesn't he groan with you quite a bit?
Oh, if I wake him up or I tell him he has to do something and he doesn't want to do it, he'll go, I'll say, "But you have to do it, Storm." Yeah,
That's funny.
he's funny. He's funny on a lot of things, but he will listen to you.
Yes.
He's very verbal. I mean, he's very accurate. Like when he works beside of me, when we're pressing clothes and stuff, he doesn't let me get away with nothing. If something's a little bit out of order, or he'll say, "Mamaw," and he shows it to me.
Oh, he's calling you out. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He
he
needs to be
calls me
perfect.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he calls me out if I'm getting off a little bit. "Mamaw."
That's cute. Well, he's a good coworker for you.
Yeah.
Oh, and they love him down at the shop.
Yeah.
Because he's
Keisha-
organized.
Yeah.
Keisha says she doesn't have to worry about him because I don't have to recount Storm, because she said he'll
accurate.
count them and stack them up, and then he stops and recounts them to see if that's what he's got, his number. And he does the same thing when he's helping me. And she says, I never have to go back on him. She said, that's why I like for him to work beside of me, she said, because I don't have to. A lot of them I have to go back and look, and they've got one too many or one less.
Yeah. So Storm works at our family business in the warehouse, and he has to kind of like pick and pack. So he gets an order of shirts that he has to pull, certain sizes, certain quantities. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of like the tortoise in the race. Slow and steady wins the race. He's not going to be the fastest, but he's going to make the least amount of mistakes. And it's important to be accurate.
Yeah, so say I'm slow as a turtle, Mamaw.
He knows, but that's okay.
That's okay.
He gets it done.
Yeah. Said everybody's
and
not
he gets
fast.
it done right. Yeah,
that's the main thing. I tell him, well, you might be slow, but you're doing it right. Yeah. And that makes a difference. Because if you do it wrong, you got to do it 2 times, and then you're...
Haste makes waste.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think Storm had Haley, who we've had her on the podcast before, and I think it was very, very fortunate for him that she was in his classroom going through junior high and high school to help him.
His cousin.
Yeah, that's his cousin. I'm sorry. And they're like 3.5 months apart. So, she was really good to help him and give him that. I think she provided him the in-class support that he needed. Because otherwise, I think it would have been really hard for him to know what his homework assignments were. Mm-hmm. Or he's got the ability to do all of it and perform it. It's just his organization wasn't as good there. Like organizing the thoughts and remembering your notes. He's very forgetful. Do you remember, Mom, when... Leslie and Andy got him the wallet for Christmas with all the gift cards in it.
Oh my goodness.
Do you don't remember that? So they bought him a wallet and they put all these different gift cards in it for him. That was his Christmas gift. And then he lost the wallet. Because he does lose a lot of stuff, and he lost that with all the gift cards. Mm-hmm. I remember that because it was like, I feel so... And it wasn't very long afterwards.
Right.
But, it's that organization and remembering, keeping on task and stuff.
Well, this year he's forgot to open it. He's got 2 Christmas presents laying on his bed that's never been opened.
Oh my goodness.
He's forgot to open them.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So he still struggles a little bit with remembering to do things.
He thinks it looks like it's closed, and he thinks he doesn't need it probably.
Oh, because they look like
and they're soft,
box.
they're like soft, like wrapped up like.
So he has. This is April, and he has Christmas gifts that he hasn't opened.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I'm going to open and put them in his drawer.
That's
next
really
week.
Interesting, right? Like most kids, they can't wait to open a gift. And
I know.
Oh, that's so funny. Maybe somebody told him not to open them.
No.
Just trying to figure it out.
No, I was going to say no. He just hasn't opened them.
Oh goodness.
I'll see who they're from. They're probably a note in them or something.
Yeah, maybe, right? That's so funny.
I know.
So when Bryce and Storm are at your house together, how do they play together?
Oh, they play good together. Yeah.
Mainly, like, do they talk a lot, or are they mainly like doing just their gaming?
Well, they ask each other questions, and you can hear them talking. The game. They can hear them.
Yeah.
One will ask the other one what's going on, and then they're explaining to each other. Yeah.
I knew Storm wouldn't play him on one game because Bryce kept beating him.
That's true.
Storm won't play with me anymore on that one.
Yeah, that's what Bryce told us. I was winning too many times.
You were winning too many times.
So this week, Bryce's friend Michael has been wanting to FaceTime and play games with him at night. Almost every night this week. And so there's the Mario Kart Live. And Michael didn't want to play with Bryce because Bryce would always beat him. And so Bryce, I heard him say he told me afterwards, he goes... Yeah, I was almost going to win, but I slowed down and crashed into something so Michael would win. I let him win all 3 races tonight. And I said, well, that was a very good friend of you to do that. Yeah.
So have you went to that movie yet?
Oh, that's Monday night.
Mario movie.
The Mario movie.
Yeah. I've seen it never time.
Going with Storm. And I think Storm already went and saw it. He couldn't wait. He went opening night. But he wants to go again. So we have our tickets for Monday night. So, yeah, they'll probably be on the next podcast. Bryce has only been to a movie theater twice. We took him to see the Paw Patrol movie. And we took him to see Top Gun Maverick last year.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's really only had that experience twice. I don't know how it will be with the sound since he's become more sensitive. But we'll take headphones just in case.
Yeah. Didn't we do a couple movies at the Space Center? Maybe an IMAX?
I think you took him to an IMAX. Maybe. I think I guess it's kind of comparative.
Yeah.
They're not as long, though.
No, not as long.
So,
but I'm sure he'll be.
I
engaged.
have a feeling this will keep his attention the whole time.
And he watches movies at home.
He's
too,
getting better at watching movies and having more interest in the movies. So,
asking more.
so he's
questions.
excited. Yeah, he was asking me about when we were going for that. So that'll be good. So with Bryce, when he was little, you didn't see the autism in him, did you?
No. He was so smart. I was just thinking about him when I was coming out here. He wasn't even 2 years old. He knew your address. I'm thinking what the address name. I said he knew that. He knew your phone number. He knew your address. He knew ABCs. He knew the number. The letter. Not only did he could verbally say them, but he recognized them.
I know.
He recognized them.
Hi, buddy.
What's
Are you
up, Bryce?
peeking?
You just see an eye
I saw your eye. Yeah.
because I was looking for the door.
Oh, can you come close it for me? There you go.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Flight simulator.
Okay. Can you close
the door,
it?
please.
Okay. Thank you. I saw one eyeball. Yeah. So
Yeah.
very
you didn't
different from
see that.
Storm.
Oh, very different. Very dumb. And he had everything down. Remember how he used to sweep the floor? I mean, he just done everything. He was just totally,
And he was totally engaged, right?
totally engaged. That little bear, him and his bear.
And the bear.
Yeah.
Yes.
They just had, totally engaged. You didn't see, right after he turned 2 is whenever he started going
Into his own world.
into his own world. And then you had to learn to talk all over again and everything.
That's
Couldn't
crazy.
even say mommy or nothing, And that
know.
before that, he knew who we were, say your name, all kinds of things.
I know. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was just really crazy.
Well, he started doing his stemming, which we know what that is now, where he jump up and down when he gets so excited, which I know Dad gets a kick out of that. And I didn't know what was going on. I remember I recorded it, and then I showed you, and you're like, oh, he's fine, honey. Kids just get excited, but how would you know, right?
I wouldn't have known.
But
that.
I'm like, I don't think they get this excited, Mom. I mean, he's like
Not
going
up
into a full body sweat.
Yeah, not up to, to a certain age. You would
Yeah.
have never thought anything was wrong.
No.
Not at all.
So then you got your eyes open to autism in a whole other
Yeah,
Way.
other way. Yeah, yeah. You would have never thought anything was wrong with him when he was,
up until he was 2.
2, and then after he got 2 in October, and he started by December, he was like, it was amazing how much he lost.
Yeah, I think it's just pretty crazy, and I think a lot of people, they may see that, but they have a hard time accepting that there's something that's wrong.
Right.
It's hard.
But today, he's super smart in so many ways.
He is.
Yeah, right now we're working on life skills because the doctor said that it takes so long for kids with autism to develop those type of skills, and so she's like, you need to start now because
She's like, that's even more important than his education in
Yeah.
many ways.
yeah,
Because he does have the book smarts and the intelligence.
He
And
does. He's very smart.
but he misses the social cues, like we were talking about earlier, and he doesn't naturally learn to do things maybe the way that they should be done, or we know he loves washers and dryers, but we haven't really had him, we haven't taught him how to do laundry. I think a while ago he liked to put all this stuff in, but he knows all the buttons, he knows all the settings to do. He will tell me now, well, Mommy, I'm still a kid, so I can't do those things just yet. I'm like, yeah, you think? So I think once he turns 10, we're going to play the 10 card
yeah,
in a heavy way. Okay, you're in double digits now. That means now you can start doing all these other things to help prepare you. Because he does understand that he wants to have jobs. He wants to, do different things. And he'll have to understand that.
responsibilities.
Responsibilities and learning to do that. Did he say something about us coming to his house? He wants us to come and visit. It's like he pictures himself going outside of the house, but he's worried. I don't want him to worry about that. So then I had to give him the reassurance, like, no, you don't have to move out anytime you don't want to. You can live with us forever if you want to. Because right now, I don't want him to worry about that. And I remember when we were talking to his autism doctor last time, her daughter is on the spectrum, and she stopped doing her schoolwork. She just flat out refused when she was maybe a junior, and the doctor didn't understand why. And then she finally was able to tell her, well, if I graduate, I have to leave your house. So literal, right? And I could see Bryce like having that same line of thinking, like, well, if this is so I can learn and move out, then I'm not going to learn because I don't want to leave you because, he always worries about those things. So she's like, be really careful with the wording that you use. And we're like, good point, because, he will worry about those kind of things.
Yeah.
But, it's just a different way of parenting, I'm sure. So you tell me from a grandparent's perspective, is it a different way of grandparenting for Bryce and Storm versus the other kids? Well, Storm was kind of there in the mix with all the kids together. Bryce is kind of out on his own because he's younger. So you have him more one-on-one than you had Storm. Storm usually had a group of kids.
in a group.
Yeah, and he just kind of would blend and go along with. And Jackson was always very, very good with Storm. Even though he was a little bit younger, he had that personality, bossy enough to say, Storm, get it together. Come on,
Right.
He wouldn't let him melt down too much. He would be like, okay, we got to work through this. Come on, we got things to do.
Right, you lost, but we're going to play again. You might win, I can tell him.
Yeah. But were there differences for you, with the kids, or not really?
Not really, no. I mean, Bryce is just as loving and he's never been scared to come to the house.
Which is great.
Or to be left or any, with us or anything. So that makes it a lot of kids won't stay with somebody else.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they throw fits if there are left behind. But he's always been, felt very comfortable to stay with us and, and then we just do whatever. Sometimes he does his own thing. Sometimes I play with him. We just do what.
Mm-hmm.
But he's no different from. I never think of him as any different than the others.
And that's how we want it to be.
Yeah. I never think of him as any different.
And you figured out which foods, and we try to make it easier on you by taking his snacks that he knows he can have.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to feed him something that would make him sick. But
Yeah.
But as long as I've got stuff there that he,
Mm-hmm. So we've kind of worked through that. We know the menu. We know what he can have. We'll try to take usually at least one game over so that it gives you guys something to do together. As otherwise he's just going to show you his airplanes or whatever he's playing, which is fine. I think it's great when you or Dad or us, anybody takes interest in his games because those are his interests.
Right.
And I don't think we should just ignore them altogether because that's not fair to him. It's just we know with him he can get hung up on it and then over and over and replay the same thing over and over and over again. So if we can get him off, and you said you've been playing the Simon game with him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's smart on that.
He has picked that up really well. And so that's the game where you he hears the sound and sees the color, and then he has to repeat the pattern, and then it goes faster, 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 and more steps. So
he loses me on about the third one.
Yeah, he's very good at it.
He has that's the memorization skills there.
Yeah, that's great.
So when he stays the night, which hasn't been very often, we know, but that goes okay too?
Yeah. He's just a rough sleeper.
Yeah. Toss and turn.
Yeah.
He just tosses and turns. I just land up on the couch. You're now my bed.
Well, maybe we'll bring. We can take his air mattress if that's easier too. No, seriously, because I get it. He can be rough.
But he has no problem going to bed or.
No, we're really blessed in that department too, because a lot of parents, the kids like to stay. Storm actually struggles with sleep, so that's where him and Bryce are very opposite on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. Storm has always struggled with sleep and staying up all hours of the night.
It's like his body clock is different. Normally when it gets dark outside, you get a little tired, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's like nocturnal.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. Where Bryce has always been a good sleeper. So,
mm-hmm.
We're really fortunate.
He plays right up until it's bedtime. Like, when we say it's bedtime, it's like...
Bryce? He's full go.
He asks a few questions, and then he's gone.
And he falls asleep very quickly.
Yeah. That's good.
Or we'll tell him, I'm at 2%.
Yep.
I only have 2% left in my battery. Oh, okay. And then he'll know, and then he'll be really respectful and quiet if we're saying it's time to go to sleep. And then sometimes if he has a hard time, it might be like 10 minutes later that you hear, I'm having a hard time going to sleep.
Yeah.
But usually he'll be gone within minutes. I'll feel the twitching. I'll be like, okay, I know he's gone. And he has been going in his room some. I don't know. He's been sneaking in our bed this past week.
I think because we're getting to bed late and neither one of us wants to go hang out with him
That is
at
a
that
fact.
hour. So we're like, just get in our bed. And he's so excited to.
Yes,
know.
it makes life easier for all. But
It's not the right thing.
that's why we have a king size bed.
He can't get in his bed and really put himself to sleep. I mean, he's done that maybe once or twice, but he really needs one of us in there just to do the wind down and the prayer and
A little bit of bedtime
He's
routine.
got some questions, always has some questions, and then once he gets all that done, then he
With
feels
you,
like
he
can
has
relax.
lots of questions.
Yeah.
Because he thinks
'Cause
you
I
know all the stuff. But
Daddy, you know all the stuff.
so you get lots of questions at night.
Yeah.
Even if I lay in there with him, which I haven't done that in a while, but I'll tell him, oh, I only have 5% left. I think you can ask me 3 questions, make them count. Oh, okay. And then he knows, but that kind of puts him on a cap where
Yeah.
you leave it open-ended. So,
Yeah.
but I know you enjoy it. And
Yeah.
it's special, precious time. It
It
just
is
depends how
special
tired I
time.
am as
I mean,
to
it's-
if I put a time limit.
That's a little bonding time, where there's no distractions and it's just him asking me whatever's on his mind.
Yeah, which is sometimes where we can get. Well, I told you, Mom, I said, okay, he's going to be staying the night with you. And this is when, like, you get the most questions and it's going to be great. So the next day I'm like, well, how was it? You're like, he went right to sleep.
Yeah, he did. Well, we were playing bowling in bed on his thing.
Oh, okay.
Then he got tired.
Yeah. But usually that is when a lot of the questions will come out. And it's good. It's good quality time. So, our birthdays are coming up soon, so there might be another sleepover in your future when you're ready. I'm putting it on the air. Would you say, yes, that's okay, Sandy?
That's okay, Sandy.
Just saying. He did ask me the other night, when am I going to get to sleep at Mamaw's again? But, like even for us, we're so used to having him that even though we know we need our time alone, we miss him when he's gone. So it's like one of those things.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I'm
true.
not one of those parents that I want my kid gone all the time. I
No,
don't.
right. I
Because
never was either.
I enjoy him, right? I mean, like...
I never
it's
understood when
precious.
parents was so glad when school started because their kids were gone. I
Yeah.
never felt like that,
And we felt that you didn't feel like that, which maybe that's why that passed along. So yeah, I miss him when I'm not with him, but we know that we also need to have time for us where we can think. Like I was saying last night, we went to dinner and I sent a note to Carla, my sister-in-law, and I said, well, we're on our way to Mom and Dad's. We're going to go to dinner. It's nice to have an hour without interruption. I said, but you probably don't remember those days because her kids are all grown. Then she left. She's like, oh yeah, it's been a long time since we've had to worry about that. Now we have to interrupt each other, So, for us, it's different. It's when you get out and you can just have a conversation and he's okay somewhere else. It's just helpful, and you got to have that. It's healthy and happy for your mind, but then by the time we get back to your place, we're like very happy and excited to see him. So, Well, I didn't really write out a list of long questions for Mom. I just wanted to have you on here to just kind of share what you have, and we appreciate.
Well, thank you.
Do you have anything that you just want to share with the listeners that you think, I don't know, might
Suggestions?
be helpful tools or
Just be a regular grandma.
that's it.
Or
I
an
think
aunt,
that's important
or
too.
an uncle. Whoever you are, just be ordinary. You don't look at him as any different. You look at him as a child, your grandchild that you love, and there's no difference. There's no difference in them.
I think
Very well
Just
said.
love
I think
him.
it's very well said because we all have differences.
Everybody has a difference.
Every child. You brought 4 of us up, and we're all 4 different
Right.
in many ways,
Many
and yet there's a
ways.
lot of similarities in many ways. And I think that's what you do is just respect and value the differences that are there,
True.
but also know that at the core everybody's the same. Yeah.
You love them all the same.
Love them all the same. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom from Mamaw.
Yes.
Right here.
Maybe we ought to have a quote from Mamaw each week. When we go see her, we'll say, okay, what's the quote of the week? And then we'll say it on the podcast.
There's on Facebook right now, there's a little girl that comes on, and she's the cutest she can be. She could be a Haley, our little granddaughter Haley.
Yeah.
I can see Haley in her. She's like, she just had her birthday. She just turned 5.
Okay.
And she'll go, you know what time it is? It's time for the quote of the day. And she'll give like really good things.
That's
Wow.
great.
It is so cute. I mean,
I might have to find her because I
You
like
gotta-
encouragement.
Oh,
Yes.
she gives you encouragement. She'll say, don't let anybody tell you you can't do it, 'cause you can do it. And she
I love
she
that.
does every time, and then she'll go, bye you all, I love you. Just on the other day, and she says, hello, my friends. Do you see this bump on my head? And my leg? I fell at Walmart. And she had this big knot on her head. But she said,
my.
but I am ready to tell you, you know what time it is. It's the time for the quote of the day. I just love
That's
her.
cute.
That's great.
She'll probably be in radio or TV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you'll have to find her. But you can see she looks like Haley. I mean, I
Yeah.
can see Haley doing
Yeah,
that.
totally.
Oh, that's great.
She's so cute.
I will have to check that out on your phone. But I do love the good quotes of the day. We all need good encouragement.
And she uses Christian quotes. She'll say different things. She's just so cute.
That's great.
Precious.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming on here. You got something
You're
else?
welcome.
Yep.
No,
Nope.
That's good.
We're good.
we're good.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Episode 100 in the books.
Thanks for listening and supporting us all these episodes. We appreciate you. We hope you have a great week. Happy Easter.
Yes.
And just like Christmas, remember the reason for the season. As we know with Bryce, there are eggs and bunnies, but more importantly, it's a
Resurrection.
day to remember the resurrection of Jesus. All right. Have a great week.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Mom.
How was it?
That was good. Yeah, that's